Welcome in to another Dynasty video. Today we are talking about the fun position group, the wide receivers. To my left, I got Lucas Hoig. To my right, I got Ryan Cash Sharma. Could not be more excited to get into this one. We are going to be breaking down our top 10 wide receivers. If you are not following the channel, make sure to like and subscribe this video on top of more, NFL content as well, which I do mainly solo Chicago Bears content. These guys will help me out with that as well. But let's go ahead and get right into it, guys. Our top 10 Dynasty wide receivers compared to the quarterbacks and to the running backs. Was this one a lot more fun or what?
Oh, for sure.
Definitely. Yeah. There's a lot of good wide receivers.
But this was so much more fun than the running
backs. Tough to just do 10 of these.
Yeah. There were so many players I wanted to throw in there. Like, so many players I wanted to throw in my list. But let's go ahead and get 10 through 8 out of the way right away. We'll kick it off with Ryan. He has A.J. Brown, a unique player, Nico Collins, and Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 8 spot. Lucas is sitting with Jackson Smith-Njigba, a unique player, Drake London, and Nico Collins, and myself, I'm sitting with Ladd McConkey, my unique player with Nico Collins and Drake London at the 8 spot. Ryan, a lot of explaining to do for you this episode. A.J. Brown, a unique player, the 28-year-old wide receiver, coming in at your number 10, and you do not have Drake London in your top 10 wide receivers. I want explanations for both of those guys.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just not a huge Drake London guy. I feel like he doesn't really present the absurdly high ceiling that some of these other receivers do. Like A.J. Brown can go for 200 yards, 2 touchdowns, give you those 40-point games. I wouldn't say consistently. Nobody can give you that consistently, but he has a couple per year. Whereas I think Drake London, he's not really the guy that takes the top off the defense, not much of a deep threat. He's more that big body possession receiver. His production mostly comes from volume, and I mean, the Falcons' offense isn't really all that impressive to me. And I know he's got age, he's got production on his side, but I feel like he's one of those players where you look at him at the end of the year and you're like, he was wide receiver 5. Like, it just doesn't seem like he gives you that game in, game out. He just has those counting stats at the end of the year that look good. I think he was kind of similar to Jonathan Taylor, where a lot of his best weeks happened when most people were already eliminated. I think he ended the season with like a 45-point game. So, yeah, I mean, Drake London, he hasn't been all that impressive. Last year was definitely his best year, but the year before that, not all that great. Only had like 2 touchdowns in 2023. Maybe he had 4 as a rookie. So, I mean, his production's been good, and he's still really young. Obviously, he has the draft capital as well, being a top 10 receiver in that draft. But I don't know. I'm not a huge Drake London guy just off the pure talent. And then as for A.J. Brown, I mean, kind of the complete opposite, where he's an insanely talented receiver, has been a multiple-time All-Pro, obviously just won the Super Bowl with the Eagles this year, had kind of a down year, which I guess would scare some people off considering his age, but he was still a top 12 receiver. The 2 years before that, wide receiver 5, wide receiver 6, still gives you those big years or big games every year. And then also he has that alpha personality that I want from a receiver. Like, he's the type of guy that gets mad when he doesn't get his targets. He's going to be very vocal about that, make it be heard. He kind of plays for his stats at this point more than his wins. So I kind of like that in a receiver. And yeah, I mean, he's been a top receiver for how long now? 5+ years. I don't think he's at the end of his prime yet. I think he's just in the middle of it, if anything, at age 28. So I'm sticking with him in that Eagles offense for at least a couple more years of high-end production.
I understand it. I think it was a lot of the age that kind of shifted me away from A.J. Brown. On top of, I just worry about like what that Eagles offense is going to be like. Is he ever going to get that 170 target season again with how well their offense ran with Saquon Barkley last year? Like, I know he was injured and his per game numbers were really good, but I think if you factor all of that into the age and the hard decline that you see from receivers when they're 30, 31 years old, I think that was kind of the main thing that kept me, because I would agree with you on the talent. If we're talking just this season, like, I think A.J. Brown is probably still in my top 10. But if we're talking, my window expands. You know how I explained that with when I'm looking at dynasty running backs, I'm looking at a 2 to 3 year window. I'm looking at about a 5-year window with my wide receivers, 5 to 6 years. And I just feel like with the guys that I have ahead of him, I like their 5-year windows better. I don't like the Drake London hate on your end. If I'm being honest with you one bit, I'm a big Drake London guy. I don't know where that's coming from in any way, shape, or form. But I want to get into Jackson Smith and Jigba first with Lucas before me and him kind of debate about Drake London here, because I had Drake London one spot higher than Lucas did. So tell me about JSN.
Yeah, I think going back to his time at Ohio State, just like a record-breaking wide receiver in college, put up better numbers than some of the other guys that we may or may not see in the rest of the top 10 here. But the Garrett Wilsons, the Chris Olaves, like they were fantastic for a couple years there, and JSN had the best stats out of all of them. So I know that doesn't obviously always equate to NFL production, but I think last year he really showed that he is that type of guy who can command the targets, and that is going to be his game. Like he's going to be a volume guy. I'm not worried at all about this year where he's got Cooper Kupp on the other side of the field, or lining up with him, and might put a little damper on his targets this year. But he's also lost DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, and so he was the clear number 3 going into last year. I think he's the clear number 1, maybe 1B, if you think Cooper Kupp's really gonna take over that many targets this one season. I'm thinking, but really I think his trajectory from where he's at right now is just going straight up. And if he gets a little stability at the quarterback position, I do think he's one of those guys. And I don't say it about many people I have at the top 10 across other positions, but I think this is one of those guys where he can go from top 10 to top 5, just based on a solid to, pretty dang good season, but he doesn't need to break records for that to happen.
No, I understand. I think JSN is immensely talented. It was definitely hard for him to keep him out of my top 10 as well. I think he was probably the one that I was struggling with the most. Him, there's a few others you could mix into that list, but I went with Ladd, which, give or take, I don't know how you guys feel about Ladd, but when I started diving into the numbers on Ladd, I started falling in love with Ladd McConkey even more. I wasn't that high on him coming out of college last year. I think he was drafted fairly even, but I think with the Chargers system, that's why I went with Ladd over JSN, and just having Justin Herbert. Trey Harris doesn't scare me at all over there. He's their north-south guy. I mean, I believe like 60% of his routes at Ole Miss where hitches or goes. He is their north-south guy over there. Ladd McConkey is their east-west guy. And you know me, my deep dive. And we're going to talk about some second-half numbers here, because there's nothing more that I love than some second-half numbers. And it's more like the last 60% of the season here. First 6 games of Ladd McConkey here, folks. He only had one game above 50 yards. And they went 3-3. Guess what? You start feeding the fucking white boy in the slot. You start winning ball games, boys. You start winning ball games. Look at this. Also, in his first 6 games, think about this one. This is crazy. 15 incompletions on 39 targets. In his final 10 games of the season, he had one game below 50 yards. They went 8-2, and he had 15 incompletions on 74 targets. That is an 80% catch percentage. Insane. Balls aren't hitting the ground very often when you're throwing the ball to Ladd McConkey. You put them final 10 games on a 17-game pace, you have 100 receptions for 1,500 yards and 9 touchdowns. I'm buying into that. And we talked about this when we were talking about our quarterbacks. These receivers, their offense expanding. The passing game opening up a little bit more with their loaded running room. That's going to open up the passing game for Justin Herbert. I'm buying into that for Ladd McConkey. I don't think his talent is off the fucking charts like some of these other guys. Like, I think if you put JSN's talent, Ladd McConkey's talent side by side, give me Jackson Smith and Jigba. But I think Ladd McConkey is going to feast in that system. His playoff game, having a 9-catch, 196-yard game with 1 touchdown. I know they were losing, but like, Harbaugh believes in these guys. Harbaugh buys into these guys. And if you show up in a big game like that as a rookie, like, I think Harbaugh is going to continue to make you eat. Trey Harris doesn't scare me. Quentin Johnson over there doesn't scare me. I think he's gained Harbaugh's trust. I'm buying into Ladd McConkey.
Keenan Allen doesn't scare you?
He's coming.
Not at all.
He's coming for those targets, man. That's Herbert's boy.
He's not eating up shit there. He got a new boy. That's Ladd McConkey is his new boy. I'm buying into Ladd McConkey. Is it official yet? Has he officially signed there? I know he did a visit.
It's about to be official, I'm guessing. But no, not yet.
And then let's get into Drake London, because I got numbers on Drake London as well, but I want to hear Lucas's thoughts on Drake London and why he's top 10.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything that's going to reinvent the wheel necessarily with Drake London. He's still young. He's been super talented from his sophomore year at USC. He commands the targets. He is like I think Ryan brought up good points about his play style. Like, he's not going to be the 15 target, 12 reception, short yardage type of guy. He's probably going to get more points from touchdowns. I think ideally he will get more points from touchdowns than your average wide receiver. And then you're just betting on the fact that offense, like, he's been a solid top wide receiver in an offense that has been pretty disappointing. But now this year, some stability at the quarterback position. You don't have Kirk Cousins throwing you the ball, and injured Kirk Cousins throwing you the ball. Bijan's going to be improving. Kyle Pitts, this might be his year. So I think that offense as a whole is really just going to click, and Drake London's for sure going to be that number one target. So I don't know, just a really solid player, great hands, good body, and it's not like he's a troll out there walking around tall and slow. Like, he's got some good movement skills as well. So I think just a really talented wide receiver in a ascending offense.
Not a troll, Ryan. Not a troll. Put some respect on his name.
Come on.
It's a little sad. All right, so I went with him over Nico Collins just because of the injury history, I think, was what kind of weighed that for me. Nico Collins has missed, like, what would you say, like probably 14 games just in his 4 years, if not more. But some more numbers on Drake London. Jesus, I'm just getting bored with these numbers. This one's a little bit more cherry picked, but
oh god.
All right. Okay. All right, 28% target percentage of he took up 28% of the team's targets on quarterback passing attempts, which trailing only Puka and AJ Brown in the NFL. I like that a lot. When they're throwing him the ball, they're throwing him the football.
A lot of that was Kirk Cousins, though.
Oh, like 14 games, but you have no idea what I'm about to drop on you right now. This is a little bit even more.
13 minutes of the season.
No, the final 3 games of the season, the 3 games in which Michael Penix started. He threw 100 attempts in his final 3 games. 38 of those went to Drake London. Now, I know that's a very small sample size, but 38 of the 100 passing attempts that Michael Penix threw in the last 3 games of the regular season went to Drake London. I love that. Now, obviously, like I said, very small sample size. Over the course of a season, those numbers are going to be drawn back down a little bit. But when you see 28%, which you put that amongst the NFL and all these guys in our top 10 that I have, only behind Puka Nacua and AJ Brown, I like that a lot. He's eating up their team's targets. Now you put him with Michael Penix and you see that 38%. I expect those numbers to maybe even rise with Michael Penix throwing the ball. You got Mooney starting out the year injured. They didn't bring in any real competition at wide receiver too. I'm super excited about the future for Drake London, and that's why that on top of the injury history is why I put him over Nico Collins. Let's go ahead and get into the 7 through 5, kicking it off with Ryan, another unique player with Marvin Harrison Jr. at the number 5, BTJ at the 6, and Puka Nacua at the 7. A stunner of a list right there. And then me and Lucas trade some blows here, except for our number 5. We both have BTJ and Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 7 and 6, with him having CD Lamb at the 5, me having Puka Nacua at the 5 instead, with BTJ at the 7 and Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 6. So more explaining to do. Cash Sharma, he's calling his shot. Marvin Harrison Jr., his number 5 dynasty wide receiver moving forward. Let's hear it.
I mean, I'm absolutely shocked that he's not even in your guys' top 10. That's crazy to me. I mean, he's 1 year removed from being one of the best prospects we've ever seen at the wide receiver position. I had him below Malik Neighbors still, but for being honest, Malik Neighbors was in an absurdly high tier himself. Probably, if we're going back 10 years, I would say Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison are both in my top 3 receiver prospects of the last 10 years. And he had 1 year, which might seem underwhelming on paper, but he still had good numbers. Kyler Murray just had a little bit of struggles getting him the football, but I think in a couple years, Kyler Murray might not even be there. I think the entire focus of that offense is going to be around getting Marvin Harrison correct. I mean, you don't take a receiver in the top 5 and not build your entire system around that guy. So I'm just buying into the talent. I'm looking at the guys I have around him. Like Brian Thomas is a pretty unanimous guy who's in most people's top 10, maybe top 7 dynasty receivers. And I'm just thinking back to like a year ago. It's like nobody in their right mind would have had Brian Thomas over Marvin Harrison. It's just 1 year of data changes all of our minds. Like, I think Marvin Harrison's a better receiver than Brian Thomas. I think his situation's not like the worst in the world. I mean, Arizona's not a bad place to play football at all. And I just think that the talent's going to speak for itself at some point here. And I think this is the year he gets things on track. Kind of similar to like the quarterback version of Caleb Williams. I mean, absurdly talented quarterback and has one down year, and now everybody's out on him. But the talent's going to come through eventually. And that's what I'm betting on with Marvin Harrison Jr.
I wouldn't necessarily say that I have a problem with it. I didn't want to ruin it, the surprise that was, by saying that I was debating him with my 10 spot as well, because I am bought into the talent. But there is a little stat that I went back and I looked at that scared the shit out of me. And Kyler Murray's 6 years there, they've had one receiver have 1,000-yard season in 6 seasons. D-Hop did it once. Never again did you see a wide receiver have 1,000-yard season under Kyler Murray. Now, I know that you bring the point up of he might not be there in a few years, and that might be true, but I saw that because I was really looking for reasons to put him. There was 2 things that I was really trying to do yesterday when I was building up my list. Find a reason to not have Brian Thomas Jr. in my top 10. Because I don't know, I just wasn't that big on him out of college, so I was trying to figure out a reason why I couldn't. But then I was like, all right, you're going to contradict yourself here, because look at those second half numbers. I mean, holy shit, BTJ, he put them up. So I was like, you're going to contradict yourself.
He was my reference too, though. Like Brian Thomas, I'm like, if I'm placing Marvin Harrison Jr., like I'm looking at Brian Thomas and being like, do I really think after one season Brian Thomas Jr. is that much better than Marvin Harrison? Like, in my opinion, I didn't. In a redraft, I'm still picking Marvin.
I get what you're saying. I do. I definitely do get what you're saying. I think that there even could be some concern for a BTJ fall off. You know, you bring in Travis Hunter with the number 2 overall pick. Liam Cohen was phenomenal at spreading the offense all around in Tampa Bay. I mean, you've seen both their running backs getting 60 targets, Sterling Shepard getting 60 targets. I mean, they were a very spread out offense over there. So that could, eat into BTJ's share significantly with Liam Cohen, but you don't know how it's truly going to go over there. So I don't know. I get what you're saying. I do, but it was just tough for me. I seen that 1,000-yard stat for the receivers, and that scared the shit out of me. Lucas, your thoughts on Marvin in the top 5, let alone top 10?
I'm happy that one of us had him in there. He was probably like 11, 12 for me, and like Ryan said, like he's just an insane prospect, and the talent's definitely there. But I just don't know. Like, I feel like he's either going to have like a record-breaking Justin Jefferson type, Jamar Chase type Triple Crown season, and we're just like, oh, like we were silly for not seeing this coming, or he's just kind of going to. I don't know what the middle ground is with him. Maybe Arizona needs to have a better season as a whole. Maybe they need to be a more serious team for that to kind of just have a natural progression. But I don't think their team's good enough for like him to be a fantasy superstar with how their team's set up. Like Trey McBride's definitely the top target there. And then they love James Conner. I think they're probably going to run the ball a decent amount. What does that season look like for Marvin Harrison where he like takes that next big step? I think there's a lot of scenarios where it happens, but I think right now it is a much more of a risk than most people would have thought buying in on him at the beginning of last year. But I love the talent. Like I said, I think like there's a very realistic possibility where we look back and we're like, oh yeah, no, he definitely should have been in this list for us. Well,
I wholeheartedly do agree with you on that. Like, there's a good chance we do look back and saying this, but we didn't. Ryan, you called the shot.
Yeah, I did. I'm not going to look back with any kind of regret. I can tell you that much. And also, like I said, it feels very Caleb Williams to me. Like he had 885 yards and 8 touchdowns last year. That's a good rookie year. It's not like it's not a bad huge bust. I mean, 8 touchdowns is really good. And he's just going to continue to build on that. And like I said, the focus of that franchise is going to be on Marvin Harrison Jr., my top 5 pick. Like, you don't disregard that. You're going to try to do everything to get him right.
Yeah. Cash Sharma guarantee. Don't go anywhere, guys. There is so much to break down, just regardless here in this 7 through 5. Ryan's not done explaining himself. Let's take a look back at this. Puka Nacua, the lowest on his list at 7. You are also the lowest on Amon-Ra St. Brown, having him at your 8, with me and Lucas both having him at your 6. Lucas, you're the lowest on CeeDee Lamb. We've got so much to get into here. We have so much to get into. Let's start with the Puka Nacua stuff here. The 7, that is the lowest.
Yeah, I mean, I like the guy. I mean, I have him in my fantasy league, and I'm not moving him for like nearly anything. But to me, it's like they brought in Devontae Adams. He's going to obviously take away a lot of the targets, a lot of the touchdowns. Puka's definitely dealt with a lot of injuries going back to college. Even last year, dealt with a lot of injuries. And then also just him coming out and saying like, hey, I'm going to be retiring at age 30. Not great. So there's a lot of different factors going on there. And he's still my 7. Like, I do think on per game basis, he's going to be a top 5 receiver as long as he's playing. But like I said, the injuries, he's age 24, which is good, but it's not like the youngest in the world either. He's not the same age as guys like Marvin, Neighbors, Brian Thomas. So those guys got a little bit of youth on their side. They don't get as injured as he does. And I also just think they don't have the competition. Like Brian Thomas, the Jaguars let Evan Ingram go. They let Christian Kirk go. He's going to be the guy eating most of the targets there. Even if Travis Hunter plays a lot at receiver, I think he's going to be a complete just volume machine. And to me, it's like Puka Nacua, maybe he gets a lot of that eaten into by Devontae Adams, especially with like Matt. I could just see like Matt Stafford being that veteran, like him kind of gravitating more towards a guy like Devontae Adams because it's a guy he's probably wanted to play with like his entire career. So I could see that being like his focus in building a connection there, and maybe Puka gets left in the rearview mirror a little bit.
I don't know. It's tough for me to buy into that one just because he came in and he started, taking Cooper Kupp's bag off the jump. Like, I think like that connection that they have is there. I think my biggest concerns are I knew the retiring at 30 was going to come up at least once in this conversation. It was destined to happen. But I think my biggest concerns are McVay's only under contract for 2 more years. Stafford, I think, and him are aligned in that same sense. Right. So that's kind of scary. Stafford is an old dude, an old banged up quarterback, but on Sundays he can still sling it with the best of them. So what is the second half of Puka Nacua's career going to look like? Who's going to be there? I mean, it's hard to imagine that they wouldn't extend Sean McVay if he wants to be there. Like he's going to get an extension if he wants to be there. It's just a matter of if he wants to be there. That's my worry. But I mean, he matched his year 1 success on a per game basis. He's a freak of nature. I think I'm just buying into the talent that he's shown in his first 2 years. The injury last season did kind of scare me a little bit. So I don't hate it, and I don't hate your reasoning behind having it at your 7, but I think it's just too hard for me to pass up on that one. Lucas, we're going to bounce to you real quick. You're the lowest on CeeDee Lamb out of the group. Mm-hmm. Spoilers for the upcoming. Let's dive into that before I kick it back to Ryan for him being lowest on Amon-Ra St. Brown.
For CeeDee, it's like we're at the point where all these guys in the top 6 especially, I think there's a clear top 2, and then 6 through 3, I don't think anyone would be wrong with having like any order there. Like, I really think those guys are, if that's a wide receiver 1 on your team, you're happy, you're going to be scoring points now, you're going to have a great outlook for the future. CeeDee to me is just kind of like the least special, I think, and I've always been a big fan, and like I think he's maybe just at his peak. Like, I think he goes with the Cowboys when they're really good, and CeeDee's the clear number 1 guy there, has been and will be for the next couple of years. Then he's a top 3 wide receiver. But I think right now it's just, do they have 1 more year with Dak? Do they have 2 more years with Dak? And when they're really a serious team, I don't think George Pickens is going to take targets away from him necessarily, but I just don't know how good that team is going to be. And so I don't know how much better CeeDee is going to get from here. So I still really like him. He's still a clear top dog, number 1 wide receiver type of guy. I just think the guys ahead of him have something that stand out a little bit more than CeeDee does.
All right. Okay. I can get behind it. It wasn't necessarily a knock having CD at the 5 because I do love Puka. Like you said, these guys we're all going to be very happy with if we have them on our roster. It's a guy you can build your dynasty team around. Like you have a guy like that paired with a couple of good quarterbacks, and you're feeling pretty damn good about your team. We're going to kick it back to you, Ryan. Amon-Ra St. Brown at the 8. The 8.
Yeah.
That was I would think that was my second most shocking one of the list. The lowest on Amon-Ra.
I mean,
too
for
much
me,
of a difference, but
it's the Lions' offense is going to take a drastic step back, I think. I mean, if you think about Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's got 2 wide receiver 3 finishes in the last 2 years, but that's with having like one of the best offenses in the NFL both of those years. I mean, if we're thinking they go from like being the best offense in the league to maybe a borderline top 10, that's going to mean a lot less targets for Amon-Ra St. Brown, a lot less touchdown opportunities. I just think in general, their offense is not going to have the same success. They're not going to be on the field as much. And then just also to me, like the talent of Amon-Ra St. Brown is not that of the guys I have ahead of him. He's not the type of receiver that can get it no matter who his quarterback is, no matter what system he's in. He's a very like scheme dependent player where he's got to get schemed open because he mostly operates out of the slot. He's not the guy that's going to like take the top off the defense. He's not going to line up at the X and catch jump balls, catch touchdowns contested. He's, like I said, very scheme dependent, very system dependent. The quarterback's got to be on time, on target with him. And so to me, like the talent itself, he's also, I think, the oldest receiver on that would be in my top 8. So that factor playing in there as well makes it so I couldn't put him above guys like Puka or Brian Thomas, or for me, even Marvin Harrison Jr.
I get it. I do understand the talent aspect of it. That was the reason he's not in my top 5. Because when I'm sitting here and I was looking at his numbers, and it's like, it's really hard for me not to put this guy in my top 5 right now. Like, I really want him in my top 5. But like you said, I think it's the talent, and he just doesn't jump off the pages to me. Like, this guy's going to go out there and score you like a 40-point game. But like when I was going through his numbers, like my favorite trait of his was the consistency that he brought to the table. He's only missed 2 games in the last 3 seasons. I love that. He's on the field. He's playing football. And in the last 2 seasons, he's only had 3 games below double digits. Now you compare that to other superstars around the league. Jamar Chase has had 8 games below double-digit fantasy points. CD Lamb, 5. Justin Jefferson, 5. Nico Collins, 7. He's showing up. He's playing. He's getting to that minimal. Like, I'm not saying, like, for a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, you're going to want that, 20 to you're expecting that 20-point game, but he's not getting them real low games. He's consistently at least producing double digits, but at the same time, he's not going out there. And I think especially now moving forward to the future, he's not going to be going out there putting up these 40-point games. Jameson Williams doesn't scare me. I don't think the necessarily lack of or losing Ben Johnson, jumps off the page to me too much. I think it could be significant over there, but I still think he's talented enough and has shown enough at this league that he can still get open from the slot. Jared Goff can still get him the football. But it was the talent. It was the talent that kept me from putting him above anybody else on my list, at least. Did we cover all the bases 7 through 5? Because there was a lot to break down in there. I think we did. We got Marv. We got everything covered there. We've got everything covered there. It's time to get into the juicy stuff, the 4 through 2. We're going to kick it off with Ryan. You got CD Lamb at the 4, Malik Neighbors at the 3, and Justin Jefferson at the 2. And here we go. Lucas has got Puka Nacua at the 4, Malik Neighbors at the 3, Justin Jefferson at the 2. And I have Malik Neighbors at the 4, CD Lamb at the 3, and Justin Jefferson at the 2. Not as much to dive into. Justin Jefferson, your consensus number 2 overall player. Let's just get the number 1 out of the way so we can get this. Jamar fucking Chase, the number 1 ranked by all 3 of us. Let's go ahead and dive into this a little bit, little tidbits. I know we've already talked about Puka. I'm the highest on Lamb. We have not really dove into Malik Neighbors yet. And I guess I can go ahead and start that one off since I'm the lowest on him. I think it was just, I love everything about him. I think he's an elite talent. I think he's is just as talented as CD Lamb, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase. Like, I think you can group those guys together. We're at that point. And I think it's just the New York Giants that worries me a little bit. Like, it was a fucking miracle in itself that they were able to get him as many touches and yards that he had last season in year 1. So you could sit there and be like, oh, like it's going to be like that this year too. Like they were able to do it in year one, but I don't know if I'm buying into what they got going on over there for the future. Like it's hard for me. Like I know that the Cowboys' future isn't the brightest, but they're at least going to be throwing the ball in high volumes. Like Schottenheimer has coordinated some really good offenses in year past with Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott now. So I'm buying into that. They're going to be throwing the hell out of the football, and I think CeeDee Lamb's going to be getting a lot of the football. I think that was strictly it. Is like I just don't believe in what the New York Giants offensively have going on moving forward. Like I'm not sold on Jackson Dart. I'm sure as hell I'm not sold on Russell Wilson coming in and being able to like fully deliver him the ball at the highest of his ability. So I just think the next 3 years kind of look grim for New York. I'm not saying they look great for Dallas, but I know when Dak Prescott's on the field, he's going to feed CD guaranteed. He'll be able to get him the football. And I think that's just all it was for me.
Yeah, I think that same reasoning is the same reason why a lot of people picked Marvin Harrison over Malik Neighbors in their rookie drafts. They were scared by Malik Neighbors' situation. I know I kind of was too. Like that was my big worry about him. But then what does he do? He goes into his rookie year and finished as wide receiver 6. So, and he did that with Daniel Jones. He did that with Tommy DeVito. Like, I don't think quarterback is a problem for him. And I also kind of like Russell Wilson. I like him being the only guy that's in that offense and then pairing him with Russell Wilson because I feel like we've seen that before. We just saw it with George Pickens. We've seen it in the past with guys like DK and Doug Baldwin, Tyler Lockett. Like, Russell Wilson feeds his receivers. And to me, that's going to be very, very good from Malik Neighbors, even if it's just for a year with Russell Wilson, and then it moves on to someone else. I'm not really sold on Jackson Dart to believe that Jackson Dart's like some long-term solution. I think they could always bring in bridge quarterbacks. It's New York City. That's kind of, in my opinion, going to be what they look to do if Jackson Dart doesn't work out. And Malik Neighbors just kind of being the only main target there, I think it bodes really well for his fantasy production. And then just the talent. I mean, I genuinely think that he's probably the best receiver prospect since Jamar Chase. We all have number one. I just don't think he obviously has the situation that Jamar Chase is in with Joe Burrow. But, I mean, the talent's there. He wins on all 3 levels. He has the yards after the catch. He can take the top off the defense. He ran in the 4.3s. I mean, he's really a special talent. And he's someone that at age 23, I'm definitely looking to put on my team, probably over CeeDee Lamb for me personally, just because of age. And also, I actually think he's a better receiver than CeeDee Lamb, which might be a hot take, but I'm going to go with that.
I don't necessarily think it's that hot of a take. Like I said, I'm kind of grouping those 4 together. Like I truly am. I think their talent is off the charts, and you see it. And I feel naive for like kind of even overlooking Malik Neighbors. Like me, pre-draft process last year was Marv 1, and I was back and forth on Rome and Neighbors for my 2. I finished with Neighbors as my 2, Rome as my 3, but I thought it was close. And you see in year 1, like he immediately comes in and is a top 5 talent in the game amongst the receivers. Yeah. And there's a lot of talented receivers. Like he is a special fucking ball player. So I understand it. I understand it wholeheartedly why you guys have him at the 3. I think I maybe just was a little bit more reserved. It's only been a 1-year thing. And I'm a big CD guy. I'm a big CeeDee Lamb guy. I think he's extremely talented, sometimes overlooked. I think he deserves to be in the conversation with Jefferson and Chase, and I think a lot of people leave him out of that. Lucas, Puka Nacua at your 4. I know we've kind of dove into Puka already a little bit, but you're the highest on him. I want to hear a little short reasoning on it.
So there's 3 people that stand out to me growing up watching football where I've watched them play and I said, oh, that guy's just so much better than the other people that he's playing against. First one was Houston Texans DeAndre Hopkins. That man had a lot of talent. I'll just say that. Next one's Justin Jefferson. I can't lie. He's the most talented player I've ever seen play, and I think he's already a Hall of Famer. And then Puka Nacua this past year, I finally came around to say, like, okay, he is just that much better than your average wide receiver. Like, he transcends the position. And obviously his stats had already kind of proven that earlier in his career. But just watching him play this year, it's like, oh, that man is so good at what he does. And so I do see a lot of the points about what's his career going to look like, what's it going to look like after he loses Stafford, who has just consistently pumped out wide receiver superstars within fantasy football. And so I am nervous about that. I think that's where a lot of my hesitations were early on with Puka. Wasn't sure what his next couple years or his first couple years after that rookie season would look like. But now I'm so bought into the talent where he could have a Tommy DeVito, and I think he would still be a wide receiver one. So just love the player. And real quick, I do just want to say for Neighbors, I have him so high, and I felt confident putting him at 3. That man, halfway into his rookie season, sunglasses on, get me the ball. I don't care who my quarterback is. I don't care what's going on. Like, he's already got that wide receiver personality that you see in legit Hall of Famers. He's a diva, and he's good enough to be that way.
Oh yeah. He's got that. That's what I'm saying. I think those 4 guys that we talked about, they have that diva. I mean, you think about all of the things over the years. CD Lamb taking his phone out of his girlfriend's hand in the draft process. Like, that shit's so funny. All of these guys, Jamar Chase, they have the aura. That this position needs.
You know who's not a diva? Drake London. Just saying.
I feel like we just haven't watched enough Falcons games to fully prove that theory.
Oh, I do feel like he's a nice guy. I feel like he's like hey Michael, throw me the ball, man.
Yeah,
it's all right if you don't.
Are you guys worried about Rome Odunze because he's a sweetheart?
No, he plays with fire, man.
I love Rome, but I think like once they start winning games, I think we'll see a little bit of that like kind of be pushed to the side. Like, they haven't been a serious team, and so I think behind the scenes he hasn't been a real serious like player. But also we look at the Instagram reels, we look at like the social media clips, and so I'm sure we see a lot more of like the happy Rome than what he really is.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. And one last question before we wrap this up is the only reason you guys did not have Justin Jefferson over Jamar Chase was because of Joe Burrow. Just want to get that out of the way. Like, what's the grab and go here? Because I feel like when you put them on just a football perspective, they're heavily debated. But I feel like when it came to the fantasy, like, I think I would probably say Justin Jefferson is the better wide receiver, just because I've seen what he does to my Bears, and I've watched him play maybe a little bit more than I've watched Jamar Chase play a lot of fucking football as well. It's 1A and 1B. I go back and forth. I think just this last season you could go Jamar Chase, but like in terms of dynasty, was it the Joe Burrow factor and why he was number 1 over Justin Jefferson?
I mean, it's the points factor. So I guess like if you think about it that way, then maybe it is, but it's really just their offense. Like, Jamar Chase scores an ungodly amount of fantasy points. He can have 60, 70 point games. But at the end of the day, when you're at the end of the fourth quarter, going down the drive like Minnesota had against Buffalo when they had that crazy back and forth game, you're throwing it up to Justin Jefferson, and he's the only one in the league who's coming down with that one-handed catch that we all know and remember. So they're very different players. I think Justin Jefferson's like the more skilled, better wide receiver, but I think Jamar Chase is just the fantasy machine.
Yeah. Well, I'll say Jamar Chase is the better receiver. Always has been, always will be. Joe Burrow doesn't hurt.
That's fair.
I love it. I love that energy. I love that energy there. I saw a little tidbit today when I was watching NFL Network. 7 of Jamar Chase's 17 touchdowns that he had in this last season came in the fourth quarter and were 30 or more yards. I was like, holy fuck. That's really good.
I will admit, though, it's a bit of recency bias because Jamar Chase did just finish as the receiver 1. I think if you went back like a year prior, Jamar Chase was kind of dinged up. I don't even think he finished in the top 10, whereas Justin Jefferson's kind of been like a consistent top 5, top 3 receiver since he's debuted. So I think a year ago we all would have had Justin Jefferson as receiver 1. Yeah, Triple Crown doesn't hurt.
Yeah, should have been Offensive Player of the Year over Saquon Barkley. Wholeheartedly agree, or wholeheartedly believe in that one, by the way. That's for another day. We're going to go ahead and wrap this one up. We're 2 days away from Keep, Trade, Cut. And this weekend, the Chicago Bears play a preseason game. So I will have a YouTube video coming out immediately after the game. The content is ramping up. Next week, we have our Keep, Trade, Cut Dynasty tight ends and our top 10 Dynasty tight ends. The following week after that, we're going to have a little buy or sell before the season starts in Dynasty terms here. And I mean, I have like a span where I have like 12 straight videos coming out from like August like 24th to like September 4th or something like that. I will have a video every single day breaking down the 2025 NFL season. So shit is really ramping up around these parts, folks. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another video. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you to Lucas Hoig, Cash Sharma for tuning in. We'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.